If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show.
Thank you.
Live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us this 9th day of March 2015. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay.
Just okay? That's it? Just a little okay? Or a lot okay?
And
not lotto like lottery number okay.
Yeah, no, that would be, I would be lotto okay. I would be phenomenal.
Oh, I think we all would be, actually.
Right. Well, not all, because some people would not be as better off. Like, they'd have to pay off, like, debt, or they'd have to, like, give money to an ex-wife, or...
I'm sorry, that got funnier as it moved along in my head.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, really? Because that was hilarious. Who are you looking at right now? Like, that was absolutely hilarious.
I'm sorry.
And as it sunk in...
It got funnier.
Yeah, because what could go wrong?
Oh, man, there is a lot to talk about this week.
Nothing happened.
It was another slow week in news.
It was a slow week.
Thank goodness that thank goodness it was so slow that we were able to really just kind of take it easy.
We were. And speaking of taking it easy, listen, you're about to jump into a topic, and we're 3 minutes into this thing.
Wait,
I haven't even had a sip of coffee yet.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, because I want to say, first of all, baseball.
Baseball, yes. It is rolling. We're rolling right along, baby.
Yeah. Spring training is here. I'm very excited.
I am very excited as well. As we should be. As everybody should be.
And if you're not American.
Completely not American.
Right.
Yeah. Because at that point, it's just almost communist. I think communist is the good word to use for that.
Which makes sense, right? Because Obama doesn't really follow baseball, I don't think.
Right.
I mean, he's a White Sox fan. He
says he's a White Sox fan, but just like everything else in the world, he can't stay on one team. Like yeah.
First he likes the White Sox, then he likes the Red Sox, but maybe that's because he had them confused, and then
and then the Blue Sox, and they haven't even
been ever.
It's been a long time
ever, and then the Black Sox. Then he realized it was actually Lives Matter, not Sox, and so it was the whole thing.
Then it was Live Sox Matter. I don't even know where the hell that went.
Yeah, I don't know, and these are all unconfirmed reports, but we're getting them from our source inside the White House, which may or may not be true. So.
Oh, yeah. Lots of good things to talk about. But baseball is, you know what? I'm looking forward to it. And it's going to be a good season all the way around. It's always that time of year, and it's spring. Everyone loves spring, so how could you go wrong with it?
Is it spring?
Well, it will be spring soon.
Right, but it's still winter.
It's still winter. And the clocks actually go back this weekend, right? We actually set the clocks back this weekend.
You got to spring forward.
Spring forward.
Right.
Oh, you didn't have to correct me. You knew what I meant.
No, I didn't.
Are we going to start the show off like this?
Like what? With you getting defensive
With
because I want to be factually correct?
Yes.
Listen, I was wrong about something. So we'll shift the blame from you being wrong about something to me being wrong about something. I was wrong about something.
For once.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised. Right? Mitt Romney's a complete douchebag.
I think Mitt Romney is to the point now where he is just trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, because he wants to nominate. Look,
He's
a
almost
douchebag.
like the actor.
Hey, well, let's not get into this yet.
Okay.
But I just had to say I was wrong. Just to shift blame from your misrepresentation of which way to turn the clocks. Because, I don't know, maybe you wanted to purposefully mislead our listeners because you wanted them to be later for work or...
Later. You know, for all, you know how I love people to be screwed up for work. I mean, that's just
You do. You actually wrote an article about it. We never printed it.
such a D-bag move by me.
But, yeah, listen, people don't understand that you're like a mad scientist.
Yes, I am.
So it is exactly in your wheelhouse to put that little tidbit in somebody's mind, right? So that when they hear on the news or whatever, their reminder, oh, set the clocks, that they automatically think we're going to set them back,
Right.
right? So that you get your little, and I'm exposing you right now, so that you get your little subliminal little hint in there for all of our listeners to be screwed up and really to be like a couple hours off. Mm-hmm. And then you think that's funny, and then you're going to giggle to yourself, right? See, like you're doing right now, because
I actually would do something
because
like
you're
that.
going to wait for the hate mail to come in. Like, I listened to you, and you'd be like, "What? Yeah, I made a mistake. It's not my fault. Don't believe everything you hear on radio, right?" I
Right.
mean,
You know what, though?
lesson learned.
Exactly. I'm teaching. Don't look at everything you read
Or hear.
or hear.
And why would you look at everything you read? So by
Why
definition,
wouldn't you look at everything
and that's
you
the
read?
point. Well, you just said don't
Well,
look at
I
everything
guess unless you read by Braille.
Right.
And then why do you have to be so cruel to
So
people?
why do you hate blind people?
No, why are you like that?
No, I'm asking
Why do you have to look at everything you read? Because some people can't, Clint.
Well, you're the one that said don't look at everything you read, so everybody should be blind? I don't know. Where are you going with this? Why? Oh, don't look at everything you read. Just see darkness. Oh, there you go. Talking about race again. I know your little innuendos, Sean. Your little hidden meanings and everything. Ken, I apologize.
Oh, man.
Making fun of Ag and Ken all at one,
all
all
at the same,
subliminally. Yeah.
all at the same time.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I do have to admit, first of all, for those who don't know, a dear friend of ours of SHR Media, and she has been for a long time, Liz Loris is battling cervical cancer. She came out with it last week, and she's doing well. It's really, really not just it's bad. Obviously, it's bad. There's no other way to put it. But Liz, being the fighter that she is, and I said it when she first told me that she's not fighting cancer. Cancer's fighting her, and it's an uphill fight for the cancer, not for her. So. And I wholeheartedly believe that. But Ken had asked me to come on earlier in the show tonight with Liz and the Underground Professor to discuss, Liz's cancer. Well, did you? Well, I know, and I don't know if he actually thought that it would be like all of us quietly talking about it. Or what would happen when you have a sackhead on a show? It's going to get loud. Stupid jokes are going to get made. I actually mentioned a Who's Farted hat during the conversation. So that tells you. But it was very, 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 very touching to hear her battle and how well she's doing and how she will continue to fight. And the prognosis is good. And listen, if you know Liz, she's fought her whole life. She's not going to let something like this beat her. I wholeheartedly believe that, and Ken knows that too. So we're really excited. I mentioned on his show, and I wanted to mention it to you today, that first emails for Freedom Fest were sent. I confirmed our spot for this coming July in Las Vegas.
Is there enough alcohol this year?
I already warned them because it's going to be us,
Right.
the Underground Professor.
Okay.
I think Liz might make an appearance.
Okay.
I'm going to make Danny Butcher show up.
Yes.
One way or the other. He's
Listen,
showing up.
Dan doesn't know us, but he will show up one way or another. He might not hear us come into the house. He might not know how he got there,
Right.
but Dan's going to be there. He just might not recognize it until he's actually there. We have skills, Dan, that you could only dream about.
So we're pretty excited about Vegas in July.
Oh, yeah, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong with us
That's
in Vegas in
chapter
July?
46 in my book.
So we're looking forward to that. And really getting the team back together because last year was so much damn fun. It really is great for us to be able to see our friends and our loved ones who share the airs with us and spend that time together. And maybe we can get a couple more people to show up this time. I think that'll be fun. So the first email was sent off for that. We started again. I don't know if you remember, and everyone who was at our table remember. Do you remember Mim, the young lady who was working the booth right across from us?
Yes.
The really funny, like really cool.
Yes.
21, 22 years old.
Yes.
Smart. She's actually one of the coordinators now.
Awesome.
So when I sent the email back, she knew exactly who we were. Shot an email right back. It's
Listen,
going to be
they,
awesome.
They loved us at Freedom Fest.
They did.
I'm not going to lie.
And we love them.
And we
It
did love them,
was so
absolutely.
mutual.
And Breitbart, I'm sorry, we kicked your ass. I mean, we just look. I love Breitbart. That's great, but we kicked your ass.
We were
Freedom Fest.
machines.
I apologize. We were.
Everybody,
yeah,
with,
we were.
everyone with SHR were machines, one way or the other.
Yep.
And we all worked our tails off that whole time we were there. But we had a lot because of that. We had damn fun
We did.
because we talked to some great people.
We talked to everybody.
Everybody. And it was pretty amazing. So I'm looking forward to doing that again. Still working out May, Texas for the GOP convention. We're still working on that. And hopefully we can nail that down too. That'll be a lot of fun. So that's kind of what's going on in-house with the Sackheads. I know for those who are saying, well, what about Sacco? Sacco already said that if we do Freedom Fest, he will come out again for the 4 days. And by the way, for everyone who doesn't know, Sacco's in Vegas once a month partying.
At least.
Yeah, so it's not a big trip for him to make.
Right.
So we'll be fine there. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's actually, now that spring's here, it's right around the corner.
I have an announcement.
Yes.
One of the Sackheads was featured on a local television show.
Not local, national.
National television show.
Yes.
He's in studio with us right now.
Is he?
Yep. He's a fat little guy with a Boston accent.
Well, the camera adds 30 pounds. I've noticed that.
And I was like, whoa, Chris Farley. I mean, it was kind of weird.
Here's me. Here's you. Here's me. Oopsie daisy.
I was like, what is this, SNL? Like, when did
Don't
this happen?
think that didn't cross into my head at some point.
But yeah, so you made a trip down to San Diego.
I did. I was on
on a special assignment.
You were on special assignment. I.e., you were still waiting on the front porch for the car to pick you up. Now, here's what happened.
Yeah, you said a car was coming.
I got on the plane, and I figured you'd be sitting next to me. And when you weren't, then I figured you got out early. Because I know you're an early riser. You like to be ahead of time. Schedule's a big deal.
Right.
So,
and I fly.
And you fly regularly.
Right.
So I figured you'd already beat me to it, took the private one down. Whatever. I don't know how you travel sometimes.
Yeah, listen, sometimes I can't talk about how I travel, and you know this.
So when I got in the studio at 11:30 a.m., The Answer in San Diego, and Andrea Kay was doing her show, and I was doing the show as her guest host, I figured any moment now you were going to walk in. I even asked her, and she knew exactly who I was talking about when she said Clint who.
Right.
And I was like, oh, right. No, I get it. That's funny. Maybe you're just here for the TV thing. Maybe your schedule got bumped back or whatever.
Right.
So I spent a few hours by myself,
Uh-huh.
meandering around sadly.
And I got a text message.
Yep, got a text message, which you didn't answer back because you're rude.
Right, because you probably thought I was in airplane mode and traveling.
Right.
Which I was.
Yeah.
But I ended up in Zimbabwe.
Right. So
which is weird.
So then the TV spot showed up, and I got there, and I'm sitting there in the green room, and I figured you were going to be there any minute, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I thought you were already in. I figured she called you in early before me, and then I was going to kind of get brought out for the last 5 minutes. You
Right.
know how things usually work out with us.
Right,
Where
right.
you're getting all the attention, and then, like, all of a sudden, you're like,
Right,
oh,
because
yeah.
I'm the social media guy.
Right, you're like,
Right.
oh, there's that weird guy
Right.
who sometimes talks on the radio with me. And I... You know, and even I look behind me because normally you call me Sean, so I'm like, who the hell?
Yeah,
oh, that's me
is
this
Sacco
time. It's
here?
me,
Oh,
right.
no, it's me.
And then I did the bit, and I was waiting for you at the airport afterwards. I figured, you know, I know that you take limos everywhere on a fairly regular basis. I had to.
Yeah,
had to
I mean, I
Uber.
prefer to call them armored vehicles.
I had to Uber.
Uh-huh.
And so I was waiting for the ride home, and you weren't there. So I don't know what the hell happened. But I know I made an appearance on America Trends TV on the U2 network. Andrea Kay was filling in for Dr. Gina Loudon and asked me quite nicely if I would come down and be a guest, and I was, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity. We had a lot of blast, a lot of fun. The Vitos from Vito and Vito were on after me, and if you don't listen to Vito and Vito, and their show can be heard here on SHR, those two guys are awesome, and they crack me up hardcore. So it was a great show. And if you have a chance, check it out. Go to u2america.com, and I think you can get the link there.
So did you pitch the show at all?
We talked about it quite a bit.
Awesome.
And she was like, hey, this is Sackhead Sean, Sean Lewis from SHR Media, and let's get into topics. And then she said it again at the end.
Oh, I thought you were asking if we were getting into topics right now.
But yeah, no, it was pretty cool. It was my first TV experience. I was going to say I'm pretty nervous.
So now, did she say SHR or was she Sackheads Radio?
Both.
Nice.
Yeah, co-host Sackheads Radio and CEO SHR Media. So I was very. I will have to admit, the first minute and a half, I was a little nervous.
You didn't look nervous.
I was.
You didn't look it.
I was.
No, it was. You nailed it. And I mean, it was. It was awesome. It was phenomenal. You did a great job.
Thank you very much. The first minute and a half, because I was fine. I didn't have. I was more nervous about the flight down because you know I don't fly well.
Right.
Which, by the way, was a great flight down. Southwest. I don't care what anyone says. Southwest
I love
always does a
Southwest.
great job.
Yeah, they
And
do.
on the way back, I'll tell you that story in a second. Because going down, I felt great. Danny Butcher was sending me every airplane joke in the world as I was about to get on the plane. Just because, why not rattle me a little bit more? Right. I'm going to make my
Right.
first TV appearance.
Right.
Screw with me a little bit, right?
Right, why
Thanks,
not?
Danny. Flight down was awesome. Get there and did the whole show, and I was more nervous about the flight. So I'm sitting there in the green room, and I know I'm coming up. Dr. Gina was live from New York for the first segment, and then I was coming in afterwards, and I had, I'm listening, and I got my mic all set up and everything. And then as it was time to walk out, they go to break, and they were like, all right, you're going to sit here. We're going to set this up. And the producer is all running around and everything. And I looked into the camera, and I was like, holy shit, they're really going to put me on television? Of all people? Like, my fat tomato head? And then I look over at Andrea Kay, who's a beautiful woman, brilliant, and a great host, but she's also beautiful. And then I can see the screen back at me because there's a screen that faces back, and I'm like, oh my God, what a contrast. Like, standing here, we're like the number 10, right? She's lean and thin and in great shape, and I'm round. So I can see a number 10 as I'm looking in the and then I can hear the producer counting down. 5, 4, and I was looking for the handles to eject.
Right?
Because I was like, I can't do
I
this
was wondering
now.
why you were pumping your arms. Like when the camera first came on, I was like, "What's he doing? What's?" I didn't know what that was.
So as they led into it, and Andrea, who is just the consummate professional. I mean, she's just an awesome host. And fortunately, hostess.
Right, not the cupcakes.
That's the first thing I think of.
Right.
Fortunately for me, she was able to carry me through the first minute and a half because I was a little nervous. And then once we started talking about topics, we were talking about politics. So then my big fat gums just started flapping, and then she couldn't shut me up. And I think I went a little time over before the commercial, but it was it was an amazing experience, and I'm really, really glad for the chance, and I can't thank them enough. I was asked to come back at some point, so I couldn't have blown it all that bad. Or they need somebody to clean the studio. I don't know which one it was.
Either one, right? That's good.
But it was an amazing experience. I had a lot of fun, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. And thank you. I got a ton of love on Facebook and Twitter afterwards with support and kind words. And we don't get a lot of those. At
Kind
the Sackheads.
words?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
support.
No.
Normally, everyone tunes in every week to hear us implode. I think, right?
Or we piss them off. Either way, I'm okay.
Yeah. So it was. Agador says, knowing where some ejecting handles happens to be, I hope he wasn't reaching for those.
Actually, he was.
It was awkward.
It was
awkward
yeah.
for everybody.
It looked a little off. Yeah, I was like, at least pull the overhead one, Sean.
Yeah.
Not the one between your legs.
I just can't find it.
Which is what you're. Yeah.
Eject. Oh, there's a J. I misheard that. Anyhow, let's look at the big board of topics. What do we got coming up first, Clint?
So we're going to transition to that, to a sad piece. Nancy Reagan
Yeah.
passed away.
Goodness.
And look, once again, Obama is going to be missing the funeral.
Yeah. You know,
And now,
Missed.
other presidents have missed other first lady funerals.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Obama has historically missed conservative icons' funerals.
right, and not thought twice about a lot of other events that he probably could have missed.
Right.
And really wouldn't have been any worse for the wear.
Right. So, look. Yeah. This he's missed Scalia's funeral. He missed Margaret Thatcher's funeral, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Right? And now Nancy Reagan's. It seems to be a pattern with him. I think that he should be there. Look, Hillary Clinton is planning on attending.
Right. And I'm sure she's going to fundraise while she's there, but that's not really the point, is it?
Yeah, but she's not going to make much money because it is Nancy Reagan's funeral. But look, that's not that I'm a Hillary fan at all, because I'm not. But at least she's showing some class by attending the funeral of the former First Lady, right? Of a very well respected president.
Absolutely.
Even
if it's for publicity, she's still making the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, let's look at it strictly political.
Yeah.
It's still just the right choice to make, as opposed to this bozo who just doesn't care. That's my takeaway from it. He just doesn't care.
He doesn't, or he doesn't choose to honor those conservatives. So I was a little upset. Now, Obama also did miss the funeral of former First Lady Betty Ford.
Yes.
Back in 2011. And again, there have been other presidents who have missed First Ladies' funerals, including Reagan. Reagan didn't attend the funeral of Bess Truman in 1982. However, other presidents have attended funerals, and again, this shows a pattern of behavior with this president, who has missed, like we talked about, other prominent conservatives' funerals.
Well, and you know what? I think if he had actually gone to Scalia's and was unable to miss this, and
it'd be a different story, right?
I think you could argue a little bit, even though his excuse now. Listen, if he has a G20 summit or there's a major summit out of country, then you're like, okay, he has business to do,
and not a summit that he's going to take a ski lift to and ski down.
Right.
Right.
But it's for South by Southwest, the same thing that Snowden was at last year. I'm not saying anything against South by Southwest as an organization. I don't care for them, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the right to run their event. I think it's a wonderful event. They invited the president. He's going to show up. But to miss Mrs. Reagan's funeral for essentially a nerd conference is asinine to me. And that just tells me that he's more interested in fundraising for the Dems and sticking it in people's faces that he doesn't have to go. What are you going to do, not vote him in?
Right.
You're not going to be able to bring this up on him again unless he's going for the prime dictatorship of the United Nations.
Which is possible.
Which is possible.
Or unless he's going to pardon Hillary Clinton, and then if she gets elected, she's going to try and appoint him to the Supreme Court.
Amen.
One of the two.
Amen.
Wait, what?
What? Something crazy is going to happen to that. I don't think he'll go Supreme Court. I think his ego is too big for that. I really do.
Are you kidding me? Appointed for life where he can do his will? I don't think anybody would confirm him or should confirm him.
Like I said, I think that's still beneath him in his opinion. I think he believes so much in the United Nations that that's his goal, is the UN. That's his goal as Secretary General of the UN.
Or institute martial law and not have a presidential election year because of something. No, that would never happen.
I do, and I just saw it.
You saw
in the
it?
chat
Are you
room.
kidding me?
Jersey Joe just said it, but I want your feedback from it. If Hillary is indicted and convicted
Uh-huh.
and gets the presidential pardon,
Uh-huh.
is she still qualified to be president legally? And I ask you because you have an amazing legal mind, and I know you read such things, and I want to hear your feedback. Jersey Joe says she is because it is a pardon. Or that she's still disqualified. I'm sorry. He says she's still disqualified.
So here's if it's a true pardon, if she's pardoned, is her record expunged? Is she pardoned, which means essentially the crime never happened? Or is she pardoned just in terms of serving her sentence and the conviction stands? If the conviction stands and she's simply released from prison, released from custody, released from federal probation, whatever it is, and that conviction stands, then I would say that she would be disqualified
DQ'd
from holding public office because she would be convicted of whatever felony or high misdemeanor, high crime or misdemeanor. If the pardon expunges her criminal record and her conviction, and she cannot be tried again for that crime because double jeopardy still attaches,
right,
then I would think that she would be eligible to hold office. So my answer to that question is I don't know what impact a pardon has. I've never seen a criminal history with somebody that has a pardoned offense to see if that truly comes off their record or not. So that's my answer. And I don't know if that question's really been raised before. So if a presidential pardon expunges a record, which it could do,
right?
And if that's the case, then yeah, she would be eligible.
Yeah, as long as it's a full pardon with expungement.
Because and the
once
pardon,
it's expunged, it didn't happen.
Right, and that's the thing, right? It's as if it never happened. There
Yep.
is no criminal history there. And I'm trying to think. I don't know offhand if a presidential pardon expunges that criminal record or not.
I believe there is levels of pardons, right? You have the pardon you can get out of prison early pardon, but you still did the time and the crime, so to speak. I believe that you can have a complete and utter pardon where everything is pardoned. Like I said, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's definitely going to be interesting to find out. So
and according to justice.gov, a presidential pardon does not erase or expunge the records of a conviction. So if that's the case,
if she gets convicted,
which
we're going to talk about later,
yes, and is pardoned according to the justice.gov website, the criminal record stands. But the DOJ notifies the federal probation department, and the time no longer has to be served. There's no further penalty for that crime, but the criminal record stands, and that's per the Department of Justice website.
What if they only charge her with the misdemeanor?
Still, the criminal record stands, right?
Right, but the misdemeanor doesn't disqualify you as president.
she could be impeached for conviction of high crimes or misdemeanors, right?
Right.
Now, if that misdemeanor is a conviction of, you're talking about a national security thing. So you're talking about, if she pleads to, like, they lowball it, she pleads to the misdemeanor?
Yeah, gets like 30 days probation, picking
that would
up
be
trash.
we're up against the break. That is so. We're up against the break.
But it's America.
Look at
Anything
what-
can happen.
When we come back, more from the SHR Media Network Zach Guys Radio Show.
Enjoy 4 minutes with the Unpleasant Blind Guy right here on the SHR Media Show.
I enjoy.
Time for an Unpleasant Blind Guy Conservative Bite. There's been a lot of talk in the 2016 election about compromise, about candidates willing to make deals and reach across the aisle. And that all sounds really good. But there's an uncomfortable reality that I'd like to talk about. Since 1989, the presidents of the United States that we've had have been increasingly less and less conservative, regardless of their party, and more progressive. Each one in their turn willing to compromise less and less on the side of the people, and more on the side of the collective. Through the years, though we've had Republican Congresses, since the mid-1990s, more and more of the deal-making and reaching across the aisle has benefited the collective, the power elite, the political class, rather than the civil rights of the people. While occasionally those who represent progressivism are willing to appear to compromise on some issues, it is almost always done in a way that will benefit progressive leadership down the road. For progressives, it is always ever left, and increasingly for those who have called themselves conservative in our leadership, it has been ever left. Want some examples? Since 1989, our freedom of speech has been constantly compromised by political correctness and increased calls for European-style laws against so-called hate speech. Our right to self-defense through personal firearms are being slowly eroded by what progressives call common-sense gun laws. Our right to privacy has been replaced with logged phone calls and flag monitoring of texts and emails, unless you're a certain Secretary of State, of course. And the right to due process under the law is now something that the political class grants to their cronies. Ordinary Americans going about their lawful business need not apply. These examples only scratch the surface when it comes to the personal liberties that we've lost in the name of reaching across the aisle and compromising with the left. It's been said that if, as conservatives and people who defend personal liberty, we are not prepared to compromise, then the left will simply elect their own people who will compromise. The left compromising with the left. There are those in the big party Republican establishment who tell us that this is a good thing because it encourages people to vote for conservatives. But consider, when conservatives do win on this basis and continue the ever steeper arc of compromise to the left, what have the people won? In 2016 and in the future, we have to decide whether our principles are worth fighting for. I can guarantee you that progressives think their principles are worth fighting for. Compromise is a good thing when both parties are willing. But let's face it, the left has decided that not only do they not need to compromise, they're not going to compromise. Unless we, as conservatives and as people of other political persuasions who love personal liberty, are prepared to draw a line in the sand and say this far and no farther with our rights under the Constitution, and unless we elect candidates that reflect those views, we will have only two choices: whether our republic and the personal liberties of the people die faster or slower. This has been an Unpleasant Blind Guy Conservative Fight.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka is stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from Reefer of Common Sense, and we have moved to a new night and time. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com, you will catch the Reefer of Common Sense uncensored, unfiltered, and only on shrmedia.com.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network. Hey, if you're not in the chat room, go to shrmedia.com. Click live chat in the middle. If you're not in the live chat, dare I say it, you're a communist.
Which is weird because Bernie Sanders, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton are not in live chat. I'm just making an observation.
Sometimes I wonder if they're the viewers. Did you ever just wonder if maybe, like, when you know how it says, like, just viewer, it doesn't necessarily have...
No, that's Joe Biden, because he's waiting to see what we're going to dare him to do next.
It's Joe Biden because he can't figure out how to put his name in.
Right.
He's all, Barack, it's my goddamn password. It says I need a goddamn password.
No, he's trying to write on the screen in pen. You said notebook, right? I write in a goddamn notebook. That's what I do. My pen. What is this, a stylus? I don't need a stylus. My hair looks great.
Stylus. Oh, man. So
Mitt Romney is a douchebag.
Yeah, Mitt Romney's trying to...
Look, so I was wrong. I thought Mitt Romney would not be this big of a douchebag. Apparently, I gave the man more credit than I should have. He lit Trump up.
Well, he tried to.
No, he lit him up. I didn't say it was effective.
Yeah.
But I'm saying he lit him up. Look, he failed how many times? Look, he failed when he went against Obama in 2012. Should have won. He lost that election.
Right.
He didn't do so well this time around.
Right.
Gained no traction. And then he comes out and starts railing against Trump look, now it looks like that he didn't come out and say, because he was asked specifically, right? So if it's a brokered convention and they offer it to you, will you run? Well, he didn't say absolutely not. Like, I couldn't even get 1% of the vote. He said, well, who am I to say no?
Right.
Right? Could you imagine if the Republican Party, if let's say Donald Trump, if Donald Trump had a majority of the votes, but he didn't reach enough to become the nominee, and it went to a brokered convention, could you imagine what would happen to the party, what the party would do if they gave it to somebody else?
Yeah.
First of all, I would leave the party.
Well, I think a lot of people would. I think that honestly would be the demise of the Republican Party. Because I'm not totally against.
Look, here's how I'm looking at it. Right, the Republicans would know either if Trump got the nomination and they ran Romney or they ran somebody else, another party guy to split that out. They would knowingly be giving the election to the Democrats,
right?
To Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. Either somebody I believe to be a criminal or a communist.
Right.
Right? Which means that they would put their feelings or their desires of holding on to power within the political party ahead of the country.
Penny wise, pound foolish.
Right? They would be sacrificing the country so that they can maintain power within their own party.
That's how jacked they are.
That to me is unacceptable. That to me is worse than the Democrats that want to come out and push all their social agendas through or not because they actually believe that's the right thing. Granted, they want power too.
Right.
But if the Republicans are going to be the ones to implode this country by allowing this to happen, by splitting the vote and everything else, then shame on them. And I want no part of that party. I actually sent you a text message, and I was kind of joking, but I actually thought about it, and I was like, wow, this could actually happen. So I sent a text to Sean. I was like, wow, this election is so screwed up. I go that it could go to a brokered convention. The Republicans can run somebody else, and Trump could honor his commitment by not running a split ticket with the Republicans. Say, hey, you know what? I'm such a populist that I'm actually just going to switch to a Democrat because Hillary's going to get indicted and Bernie's a communist, and I'll pull that percentage of the Republican votes with me who are moderates anyways and join the party anyways for me, and I'm just going to win in a landslide as a Democrat.
I didn't go third party.
Right? I didn't go third party, and I didn't split the Republican ticket.
Well, and
this election is so crazy that I could actually... I could see that. Do I believe that would happen? No, but would I be shocked if that happened? No, I'd be like, yeah, figures.
Well, and look at somebody asked me the other day, how jacked up is this election? We were just talking about it. And they were like, I said, this is one of the most jacked up elections I can ever remember.
Yes.
It is so bad. You have Caitlyn Kardashian, Bruce Jenner, whatever Shim is now. I'm trying to be respectful to all sides. I don't know.
Right.
Coming out and supporting Cruz, essentially. Saying that, I mean, the guy, whether you disagree or don't, whatever, he's not exactly a big supporter of the LGBT community.
Right.
And he said to a LGBT magazine, no, I'd support Ted Cruz because I feel like I can have a conversation with him and I have a connection with him. And I feel like if he got into office that maybe I could be an advisor or something to that effect. And I will give Caitlyn, Bruce, Shim a lot of credit.
Uh-huh.
Said that overall, she believes that Ted Cruz would do more for the country overall than individual little matters. And I was talking to Dan Butcher, thank you, sir. I actually kind of respect that statement that the bigger picture is more important than the little special groups.
Right.
So I got to give him credit for that, a lot of credit for saying that, because that takes a lot of stones to say to
No stones.
No, I think they're still there.
They're not stones anymore.
No, I think the stones are still
Caitlyn.
there.
There's no stones.
I don't know. And listen, I don't want to throw stones.
Well, you can't. Well, I guess you could throw them because they're not attached anymore.
I don't think they're detached yet.
We need proof.
I think from the waist down, he can still be Bruce the Olympian. I don't know.
No, the surgery's complete, right?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Look, shoot a private message on Twitter and ask.
But either way, I give him a lot of credit, but it does show you how jacked it is when you have Caitlyn, Bruce, Jenner, Kardashian. And I think that's what it was. I think he's lived so long with the Kardashians that he just wanted to become one of them. Is supporting the evangelical candidate, Ted Cruz. Like, that's just... that shows you just how bizarre it is. And then you have Mitt Romney, who's coming out of the woodwork. And listen, Jersey Joe sent me something the other day, and I don't know if it's big, and I don't know if it's going to be anything or not. But in their declaration with the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, Jersey Joe found that the Romney campaign from 2012 had added some addendums in the last month, since he essentially just before
his
anti-Trump speech. Now, that's you can't see what the addendum is yet. It wasn't up there the other day. I don't know if it is anything or not.
But just the fact that it was amended, right?
Yes. Yep. Shows you that there's activity.
There's activity.
Why is there activity? You look at the brokered convention.
Yep.
And I don't know if he's closing out 2012 officially so he can open 2016, or if there was some housekeeping that ironically had to be done. And I know that candidates leave those open for a long time so they can. You have the funding coming in, all these other things that you have to give to the FEC. There's always. I looked at some other ones where they had past history where people a couple years after the fact made. But the timing of it was very, very strange. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that there's a company out of, I think it's in Massachusetts. It's up on the North Shore, Beverly, Massachusetts, I think it was, called Red Curve Consulting, which is a political consulting group.
Is that how to bend people or curve them towards communism? The red?
I don't know. But then they all of a sudden were filing some paperwork, and that wasn't the original consulting firm used by Romney Ryan. So I don't know. I mean, anything is possible. They would have to change Rule 40, as Jersey Joe in the chat room, which if you're not in the chat room, you're missing all this, would point out. But would it shock you if they changed Rule number 40? Would any part of that at this point shock you? And whether you like or dislike Donald Trump, we should not be changing the rules of the party prior to the convention to meet the needs of the GOP. They should be listening to the voters.
Yes, absolutely. And look, here's something about Trump. And we haven't endorsed anybody.
No.
We've talked positives, negatives about a lot of different candidates. We have not come out and officially endorsed anybody. Here's something. I actually saw Trump speak over the last couple days, and he was saying some things that I was kind of like, okay. I mean, he's a smart guy. We've said it before. I think he'd be good economically.
Right.
I have some concerns about him, but here's the deal. I am so angry with how the Republican Party is treating him. Could you imagine? First of all, here's one concern I have. If Trump gets the nomination and wins.
Yep.
And the Republican Party did everything to try and screw him.
Yep.
And they maintain power in Congress. Do you think he's going to want to play nice?
No, ever.
I mean, that's just human nature, right? I mean, with some of the Republicans, he might. But do you think he would want to play nice with the party if the party said, hey, you know what, we'd really like to see this? No. But Donald Trump, I think, is the kind of guy also that, look, if you play nice with him, he'll play nice with you, maybe. I mean, certainly if you go after him, all bets are off, and rightfully so.
Right. As we've seen.
But if the party came to him and said, hey, you know what? You signed a pledge that you're not going to run third party and you're going to support whoever the candidate is. We also have that pledge with you.
Yeah.
If you are our candidate, we will support you 100%. We'll give you everything you need. We want you to be successful. We want to help you select a cabinet to help with in areas where maybe you're not as strong. Business, hey, absolutely, other areas. And we want to work with you. We may not agree on everything, but we want to work with you and work within what we have as the party. You're bringing new people in and embrace him and use him as a partner, even though they may not agree with his vision for where the party should be headed. But at least they know, hey, this is our candidate. This is who the Republicans voted for. This is who it is, and this is who we're going to support. And make him a partner, or at least be a partner with him. You would probably accomplish more.
Well, and here's the thing, and I'm answering this in the chat room right now.
Where am I wrong?
Somebody said, I don't think you're wrong at all. Somebody said, well, he doesn't give a damn what they think. But the problem is should he be in the White House come to January, you need him to be on your side as much as you need
to be on his side.
Right.
And look, he made some great statements the other day at his speech where he said, listen, I want to be a unifier. I want to bring everybody together. I can work with this person and I can work with this person. He really kind of almost extended that olive branch.
Right.
And the Republican Party is basically telling him to go screw himself.
Yep.
And look, that's the party's bad.
Yes. It's a horrible.
The party is wrong 110% on this. If he is running as a Republican and you may not like him, or Kasich, or whoever else, but if that's who gets a majority of the votes, if that's who gets the delegates, and that's your nominee, look, I wasn't excited about Mitt Romney. There were a lot of people that weren't excited about Mitt Romney. No, none of us were,
really.
Right? But if that's your nominee...
And we also pointed out, one of the things that you saw with Romney that you're not seeing right now, there was a lot of people who were conservatives, Tea Party. Remember, I want to remind everyone, the GOP did everything they could to kill the Tea Party.
Yes, they did.
And to this day,
yes,
they were up there.
That's why Cruz is persona non grata.
Right. Even the Tea Party eventually found good things to say about Mitt Romney.
Right.
And Ryan. Because at that point you had to.
Because Ryan was there.
Right. Now we both know the Dems are pretty much locked up who their candidates are. You are looking at the president and vice presidential candidate on stage talking right now, barring Hillary going to jail. You're looking at them.
I see what you did there. Bars, jail.
Yeah. They're done. They're just trying to figure out who's going to be number one and number two. We both know who number two is, socialism. But if the Republicans don't get their act together and get their heads out of their asses, you could be looking at the first socialist vice president, openly socialist. And I'm telling you right now, the other thing that this is doing with you look at these debates, and it's nothing but attack on Trump instead of people trying to support why their position is better.
Issues, and that's why Kasich was doing a little bit better.
You're going to start pushing people away. And those people who have filed as independents just so they have the option come November may turn around and be like, at least these two kind of get along. These guys can't, nothing. They are destroying Trump. And again, I haven't endorsed anyone I don't believe.
No, I'm angry because, look, Trump has the support of a lot of voters. Trump is leading in the delegates. And there are people who are not doing well that I think are staying in this race, Kasich and Rubio, because they're trying for that brokered convention. Look, and I know the Republican Party is not thrilled with Ted Cruz either. So the two people who are leading this thing, number one and number two, the Republican Party doesn't like. And the two party guys, I think, are hanging in there so that these two guys that aren't really liked, Cruz and Trump, they can't get the nomination.
Right.
That's what I believe. I believe that's why they're holding on, because the party is asking them to hold in there. I think that Trump, whether I agree with all his politics, obviously I don't agree with all his politics, but I think that Trump as the leader. This is the person that the people are voting for. If the party doesn't support that in the end, I think that party should lose 40-something% of its membership.
Well, and
I really do, and I think that would be the end of the Republican Party, because I think you'd see the Trump people split off.
A lot of people
and I also
split
think
off.
the Tea Party people might
would
just
now
say,
then take their opportunity.
Yep,
hey, if we're splitting,
you know
we're
what?
splitting.
We're done.
And that's not a bad thing. It really isn't at the end of the day.
Well,
I understand.
For the party, it's not a bad thing. For the country, it is. Election cycle.
This election, exactly.
Because that would guarantee that you would have a socialist in some position in government, and you would have a Democratic presidency. And how many Supreme Court? At least one Supreme Court vacancy now. Probably have a couple.
Oh, yeah, because if the Dems get in the next election, you're going to see Ginsburg retire.
I think she's going to retire in the next presidential term, regardless of who's there.
But she'll do it early.
Yes. So this next president is going to have a couple Supreme Court nominees.
Especially if they get the Senate back. You will see Ginsburg go right away and not wait for 2 years where they could lose the Senate again.
Yes.
So I'm just saying it's deplorable.
Look, it's a big deal. This is a big deal for our country, and that's why I'm saying if the Republicans do that and they split it out and they caused the Democrats to win this election, I'm done with the Republican Party. I mean that would just be.
I mean, I'm kind of done with the Republican Party as it stands anyhow, because what we saw how they treated the Tea Party was a big thing for me.
Oh yeah, and we've talked about this either. We don't vote party line. Neither one of us do.
Right.
We have leanings for sure. I mean, we're conservatives. We make no bones about that. And I typically have voted Republican, but I haven't voted straight party line ever. I vote the candidate.
I do as well, and that's the way it should be voted. Now, again, if my candidate is not the one who is elected or chosen to be the lead
nominee.
candidate, the nominee, then I will, unless it's really horrible, I will back the party as long as that candidate meets a majority of my beliefs.
Right.
And principles is a big one. However, even if it's not my candidate, I don't believe that you should be axing down and totally destroying the person who's leading because the party can't control him. Right. And that's what this has become. It's a hatchet job, a complete hatchet job. And that's all you hear out of the establishment candidates who are left. And I'm sorry, Cruz has become an establishment candidate, in my opinion. I say it right now. If Rubio drops out before Florida, a deal was cut between Cruz and Rubio's people for Rubio to be the VP nominee if Cruz gets his voters and moves forward.
Yes.
That backroom deal was brokered by the GOP. But if you go to a brokered convention, which is totally possible. I mean, I don't care. This is totally possible
Trump
with
had
them
some
right
big
now.
wins yesterday. Trump had some big wins
Huge
yesterday,
wins.
and I don't know that.
And there's more coming up this week.
Yeah, and I think he can get the delegates.
Right.
If he keeps on this path, he's going to get the delegates.
And if it goes to the broker convention, I'm sorry, you're going to see Romney up there. They're going to push him up to it. I really believe that. You're going to see Romney, Cruz, because they saw what they did last time. They screwed it up, right? And I want to know, too, all of a sudden Mitt Romney has a pair? Where the hell was that Mitt Romney when he was debating Obama, when he was campaigning? Where was that Mitt Romney? He has plenty of a pair.
You know what? Mitt Romney is being told to have a pair.
It's almost like they took him off Caitlyn and put him on Mitt.
Yeah, and maybe they did. Maybe Caitlyn put him on
Mitt. Because that's the only thing I see right now.
People don't want Mitt Romney. There's a reason that he's not in this thing right now.
Yeah.
People don't want him.
The
establishment might want him, but people don't want him. So if the establishment says, well, too bad, this is who you're voting for, guess what? I'm not voting for that.
I hate to say it. I think people generally liked Romney up until about 2 weeks ago as a person, even though they never would vote him into office. They were like, he's not a bad guy. Right. He just didn't have what we wanted.
Right.
Okay, and I was okay with that.
Right.
Now, I think
douchebag.
This shows that he is a petulant child.
We actually.
Why weren't you guys? Why didn't I have this many people when I was
don't know
running?
that we have.
Because you were feckless.
People don't know that we have a douchebag award, and Mitt Romney is actually one of our final nominees for the 2016 douchebag award from the Sackheads Radio Show.
Oh man,
we're up against a break.
We are. We are. When we come back, I want to talk about the fighting that's going on the Democrat side, because I want to talk about the question of equality amongst candidates. That and a couple more things here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
Well, I was going to tell them what those couple things were.
No, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Conservative media.
Whatever.
Are you done?
Oh, yeah, I've been done, apparently.
Done right.
Well, I don't want to cut you off.
You already did the commercial.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the Unpleasant Blind Guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from Reefer of Common Sense, and we have moved to a new night and time. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com, you will catch the Reefer of Common Sense uncensored, unfiltered, and only on shrmedia.com.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
So, anyways, that's how the llama came over the fence. It was just amazing. I couldn't even
mute button, kids.
I
Mute
didn't
button.
even. Wait a second. You mean they missed that story?
Yeah, that's all right though. We'll move on.
Are you kidding me? That was like a great story. That's one of the better stories that I've had in a while.
I'm getting a whole bunch of information.
It's just this look of judgment from it.
I'm getting a lot of information from our listeners, and I appreciate chat room and outside chat room. Apparently, Bruce still has it. He still has the
How do they know?
The junk in the trunk, so to speak.
How do they know?
Junk under the trunk? I don't know what you'd call that.
I'm not sticking that junk.
He's still
anywhere
got the
near
twig
my
and berries.
trunk.
He's
I'm
still
not
got the twig and
sticking that
berries.
junk anywhere near my trunk. You guys are dirty.
Doesn't matter. Oh man. So I guess we'll just go on with what we were talking about outside, because this was actually a really good conversation to have. We were talking about, before the break, the GOP's treatment of Trump, and I think we have this weird expectation now, and I call this the Obama effect. Obama effect. We got so hosed by this president, even the second time. And I know people that voted for him the second time, who voted for him holding their nose, but they voted the D because they're a D, and they just like the D.
Some people really like the D.
Some people really enjoy it, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'm not one of those.
So, but I call it the Obama effect. We want to now know what this person is going to act like as president before they get elected. And not like it was where it was just vetting. Like, people now want to see into the future, and that's not how this works.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You have to vet these candidates appropriately. Now, and I told you, I'm still not 100% on board with everything that Trump's saying. I still have questions about his history. I know he spoke at the GOP in '88. I know he's been a Republican for a long time. But I just have questions about his history. And I'm not saying that it's a deal breaker or not a deal breaker. I'm just not fully convinced yet. But I'll tell you what.
Well, look, he doesn't have a voting record we can look back on, right?
Exactly.
And the record we have to look back on is his giving money to a lot of different people.
Right.
That being said, as a businessman, I can understand that you want to give money to a lot of different people.
I can see that.
I can see it.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, I can see it.
You know, he's made statements in the past. Look, there are some things to certainly question, no doubt.
But I just think that we are, I don't know if it's part of this current YouTube, Facebook, Twitter society where all the information we want is Googled and right in front of your face right away. It's
or
not
Binged
going
or
to
Yahoo'd.
happen. Yeah, whatever. If you would like to double-click your mouse in Yahoo, I don't know. But, we just have to deal with these candidates. And the other thing that we have to do is force candidates to stop yelling vitriol at each other and start talking about why they're better than the other candidate and not just insulting and moving on. And that's really what this election has become, is an insult fest. The GOP kind of looks like circus clowns right now, in my opinion. I do believe, in a lot of ways, that deals are being cut with Cruz behind the scenes, and I really think so. I saw it as soon as Mitt came out. I think a deal was cut, and that says to me that if Cruz is elected, he will owe the establishment. And they will come calling on it, or it'll come out that he cut a deal with them and went against everything that he's railed on for the last couple of years. The enemy of the enemy is my friend.
I don't think that the establishment is dealing with Cruz that much right now. If so, I don't think they'd be talking to Romney. I
think Romney's the standby.
I don't believe the establishment wants Trump or Cruz. And that's why they're having... Okay, look, I think if the establishment was going to back Cruz or wanted Cruz, I think that they would have Kasich and Rubio drop out. I think that they would press them hard to get out instead of allowing them. And I don't know that they are. I honestly believe that they're allowing them to stay in because they're pulling votes from each other, and that's their best chance at a brokered convention. Because if Rubio and Kasich pull out now and those votes all go to Cruz and Cruz overtakes Trump and gets the nomination, I don't think they'd be happy with that either. So I think the establishment wants Rubio and Kasich to stay in, which is why they're staying in, to pull because I think those two are pulling more votes from Cruz than they are from Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's by design to help get them to a brokered convention. That's what I believe. And so I don't believe that they want Cruz. I don't believe that they're working. Now, if it really comes down to it and it's Cruz is really getting closer then maybe there might be the party might approach Cruz for some backroom deals. I just don't see it there yet. Otherwise, I don't think they would have pulled Romney out.
Well,
of mothballs. Have you ever smelled mothballs?
It smells like Romney.
How'd you get their little legs apart? That's just...
I had a couple tweezers. Anyhow, so we've already assassinated the right for a little while. Let's talk about the left for a little bit.
Please.
First of all, which is what we should be focused on. We're a conservative talk network. Our whole 2 hours should be attacking the left. That's what we should be doing. You have Bernie Sanders with the upset in Michigan. And that's amazing to me. Considering a state that should know better. And I don't know if it's just people are very, very caught up in what's going on with Flint in the water right now, so they're emotional. I don't know if it's because Hillary looked like an idiot trying to just be Hillary. I don't know if it's Bernie's statement about white people not knowing what it's like to live in a ghetto, which to me was the strangest statement. And listen, we've talked about this before. We know what it is. He will say anything he can say to get so-called impoverished people to vote for him. That's just who Bernie is. You look about his anti-cop statements and his anti-cop position, how he's blaming law enforcement, and it's just like they're just running around randomly killing black people. You have him up in Detroit, in Michigan, which has a very, very large African-American and minority population in the greater Detroit area, and he's pandering to them, right? Hillary tried, but she's so damn fake that it backfired grossly on her. I mean, if you look, it's really, really hard when you're a former first lady, you've lived in the White House, you were a senator, you were Secretary of State, you were the first lady of Arkansas, you live in this huge home, you get paid $500,000 for a speaking engagement to come out and say, I'm there for the black man, and I understand his fight. But Bernie, socialism, owns one pair of underwear.
And it's made of hemp.
It's made of hemp, et cetera, et cetera. People relate to that whether you want them to or not, especially when he's pandering. And he pandered something fierce. And it benefited him. So he upset Michigan. Now, it upset... Did that really help him too much? No. You have Hillary at, 1223 for delegates.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie's at 574. Uncommitted is 166, which is that's kind of amazing to me that you had 166 who were like, we don't want either. Or we won't decide that we want either yet. And 2383 is needed for the nomination. But during their last debate, there was a strange back and forth. They were talking about fracking. And I believe it was fracking. And then this happened.
I voted to save the auto industry.
Auto.
The money that ended up saving the auto industry. I think that is a pretty big difference.
Well, if you are talking about the Wall Street bailout, where some of your friends destroyed this economy... excuse me, I'm talking.
Let him respond.
If you're going to talk, tell the whole story, Senator
Let
Sanders.
me tell my story, you tell yours.
I will.
It's weird to me when two old white men are fighting on stage like that. Now, in Detroit, when was the last time that happened?
Right.
So immediately, social media went crazy that Bernie Sanders said the words, and respectfully, she made a statement. He was rebutting. She tried to cut him off, and he said, "Excuse me, I'm talking." Now, I actually thought that it was a very, if there's class, if you will, in these debates, I thought it was a classy way to say, I'm not done. He could have just said, shut up, I'm not done, which would have been very Sanders-esque.
Right.
Right?
Or Trump-esque.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders...
I want to see Sanders Trump.
Sanders constantly reminds me of every Scooby-Doo villain. I would have got away with it if it wasn't for the goddamn banks. Like, he does. He strikes me like... And he probably drives around in the Mystery Machine, so it's appropriate.
Right, but his actually says free candy on the side.
Right. Free gynecological exams.
What's the problem?
Anyhow... and he's come a long way since writing about in the 70s how it was okay to fantasize about raping women, which he wrote, by the way. That's part of his... He wrote an essay.
No, that's not true because he's a Democrat and Democrats love women.
And that would never happen,
that
right?
Would never happen.
But either way, social media went insane that he dared cut off Queen Hillary. And then all of a sudden it was about, oh, he's anti-female and this was a sexist statement, blah, 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 blah. When we have the conversation about equality, and it is very, very common for candidates on a debate stage to interrupt each other. It's been going on for years, since the beginning of the debate, since when debates really first started, right?
Are we talking like...
In general.
Like in ancient Greece?
Yes.
Rome?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sackhead's radio show?
Sackhead's radio show. Absolutely cut each other off. Now, will I admit the last couple of elections it's got a little bit more circus sideshow than it had been in the past? Sure it has. But when you're dealing with another candidate and you're trying to get your point, they try to cut you off, it is completely normal for you to say, hey, I'm not done talking, and move on and finish your statement. Bernie did this, and the left-wing media and all the Hillaryites, the Hillary zombies, the Hill Dog zombies, took to social media, oh, he's a sexist, he's anti-woman, look at how he cut her off. What a bastard, essentially. When you're in an election and you're trying to be the president of the... And I'm sure that the Hillary team had something to do with that social media push. When you're in an election cycle and you're trying to be president of the United States, I don't think you should have a thin skin. And you know what? If I was Hillary, if she was any sort of a true person, and I know she's not, so I know this is just an empty statement at this point, but if she came out afterwards and was like, hey, yeah, he cut me off, we were in a debate, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. I would have said, oh, good for her, bravo. But she hasn't. She's let this vitriol just fester, and now it's become a politically correct thing. Once again, destroying our country and destroying some politics. Even more. If you're running for president and you demand equality, and you get cut off by another candidate just as equally as if you were a man, I would say that's dream realized. Because instead of him just stepping back and going, oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Clinton, please continue, because he's so afraid to offend somebody, or he's so afraid to step up and treat her like an equal candidate, I would think that would be more sexist. Or if he's like, oh, I didn't want to interrupt you because you're a woman and that's rude. That would be a sexist statement. But to push back and say, hey, I'm not done, just like he would with any other male candidate, which he had done in the past, and he did so respectfully. He said, excuse me, I'm not done yet. Which for Bernie, I mean, that's a lot of normal words in one sentence for him, which I give him kudos for. He was able to pull that back together. I can't believe people are making such a big deal out of this.
Well, the ones that are the Hillary supporters, right?
Exactly.
The ones that don't want her to look bad.
It's just bizarre to me. And then they had the whole fracking statement. And when I talk about it, and it's funny because somebody said to me a couple weeks ago, wow, you give Bernie Sanders a lot of credit. And I said, I do, because I give Bernie Sanders credit for being who he is.
Yeah, look, Bert, you know exactly where you stand with Bernie. I think I watched Bernie on the when Brett Baer on Fox News they had the town hall, and look, I fundamentally disagree with Bernie Sanders on almost every single issue. But when the man speaks, he's articulate, he's clear, he believes in what he's saying as far as he believes that his vision is what's best for the country.
He believes his own lie. Or the lie that is socialism.
Yeah, look, I don't think he believes it in terms of a lie. I believe that he thinks that's the best way for the country. I believe it's unconstitutional. I fundamentally disagree with him. But what I like is with some of the questions, he says, listen, this is my position, and he says, you may disagree with me,
right?
And we can have that discussion, but this is my position.
No, I agree with you.
And that's what I like about Bernie Sanders.
Right.
Not that I would ever support him as a candidate.
No.
But what I like about him is he says, hey, listen, we may disagree. However, this is my position. This is why I think that way.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with me. And I think that's missing in politics today.
Yeah.
For the most part. I would love to see that on the Republican side.
I agree.
But because at least Bernie Sanders is engaging in the conversation. And he doesn't get offended or throw a temper tantrum when he got some of those questions that he didn't like. He said, hey, thank you for the question. It's a very important question. We may disagree, but here's what I think. And that's why I like Bernie Sanders. It's not that I like him and say, oh, I think he'd be a great president.
No, he'd be a horrible president.
He'd be a horrible president. But
But he's true to who he is.
He is, and he's unapologetic for it, and he's willing to at least engage the other side in discussion.
Exactly, and that's what I said. As far as being a person of their own principles and not giving up their principles, Bernie's the most honest candidate that the Dems have run in 12 years, or longer, for that matter. You know what I mean? The whole thing about fracking was great because it actually showed you the difference between the two of them. They were having a conversation about fracking, and essentially they asked, Hillary if she'd support fracking, and she essentially went down the road of, well, if it's done in a safe way, and we know that it'll have minimal impact, and there are ways to do it with minimal impact to the environment now, blah 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 blah, then I would support it. But that would be, the standard is so high that it would be absolutely minimal. Typical left. Oh, right. No, I want the EPA and all that other stuff. I'm going to make sure it's really, really tough. Wink, wink, oil companies.
Exactly.
But I'll make sure that something else is there. And then they cut to Bernie, and they're like, same questions. He's like, absolutely not. End of story. There was nothing else after that. There was no caveat. Pardon me. So, to me, I was like, okay, at least you know where the guy stands. There's no shystering outside of the fact that he believes in socialism, but I think that's more of a mental illness than anything else. I mean, here's a guy who honeymooned in communist Russia. Literally honeymooned in communist Russia. The guy's never had a job until he was 43, and then he was elected into office, which, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of socialism in government. When you get things handed to you, you get things paid for, like all this other stuff. Yeah, you have to show up and put a tie on occasionally, but that's just the way it is. But out of the two of them, I understand why people are being attracted to him. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. He's kind of the Trump on the left. He says what he feels, he's not apologetic, and he keeps going. So, I understand why.
Are you feeling the burn?
No, fortunately. I just...
Because they have shots for that.
I just understand when I look at all these pundits on the left, CNN, MSNBC, who write for all these liberal rags.
I want to bring something else up.
Hold on, just let me finish my thought.
I will. Well, no, because we never interrupt each other.
No, God, no. Excuse me, I was talking.
Yeah, no. Where's the pundits on the left coming to my defense for that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
But when I see that they're totally dismayed that he actually stole Michigan, I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think it's as shocking as you think it is. You're just mad that your establishment person didn't just run the gauntlet on it.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, please, I'm very sorry that I was not finished when you were ready to speak. I now hand the mic over to you, my friend.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And listen, we're all about socialism and redistribution of airtime here.
And airtime.
Yeah. So you were talking a little too much, and I'm going to take some of that time and give it to myself so that it's fair and equitable for everybody. You know what? Forget, I don't even know what I was going to say. This doesn't even matter anymore. Look.
Go on.
I don't even know what I was talking about. I really don't. I forget. That's how unimportant it was. But it was something really awesome. Trust me. I'm gonna have a Donald Trump moment. Listen, what I was about to say was going to be beautiful. It was just going to be magical, and it's really going to be something special. And look, I can't tell you what I was going to say, but when I get more airtime, I'll let you know what I was going to say, and you're just going to be amazed. We're gonna make this show great again. It's going to be beautiful. And listen. Trust me when I say that this show is going to be the most amazing show on radio, and it's amazing. I'm really excited for what we have coming up.
Well,
What?
Yeah, well,
right? Hey, Clint, specifically, how are we going to grow SHR this year and the Sackheads Radio Show? Listen, Sean, we have great things planned. We have really big things coming. It's going to be tremendous, and all I can say is it's beautiful. I love you. You're a great person. You're beautiful. I love Bernie. I'm sure, nice man. And I'm really excited for what we have coming up. We're going to make SHR great and Sackheads Radio great. And I'm really excited.
I love this moment. I love this coming through moment. And I think it's going to be absolutely special. I really do. Hey, I know we have a couple minutes left.
Wait, I didn't answer the question.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Judge Andrew Napolitano had a show on Fox.
Wait, Judge what?
Andrew Napolitano.
It's not an ice cream flavor, Sean.
Neapolitan. It's my favorite, too. I love all three flavors together. Because unlike you, I'm not racist. I think everybody can live together in harmony.
Really? Why would you turn ice cream into a race issue? But really, if you think about it, Neapolitan is like America, right? You have white, you have the brown,
and then you have
pink. And then you've got red or pink, the red man.
Like me, the red man.
The red man, right? So you've got pink, the red man. You've got white, like Sean and those who rule the world, and then you have the brown, like the Hispanics and the folks like Ken. So it's beautiful all together in one ice cream flavor, all wonderful and beautiful. So why is it Neapolitan is segregated? Is it that the makers of Neapolitan ice cream believe in segregation? Yeah, there's no
swirling
crossover, right?
There's no swirling,
no swirling at all.
And I think it's funny that on the carton on the outside it says "Never let melt together." I think that's just wrong.
Right. It says keep frozen so that they
no
cannot mix. Right. Not even in your belly. Like eat each flavor individually.
I was going to talk about Judge Knapp being canceled.
Did you say Judge Nappy?
Judge Knapp. With Fox canceling Freedom Watch on Fox Business. But you know what? That doesn't seem as important as ice cream right now. I don't know why fucking ice cream is all of a sudden, I want ice cream, damn it.
So do I. Oh, you're the one that said Neapolitan, okay?
I did not.
You did.
I hacked his last name. I didn't say Neapolitan.
Judge Neapolitan. I was like, it's delicious.
Neapolitan
what else
is my
do I need to,
favorite ice cream.
What else
I've
do
never
I need
gotten
to
it wrong.
judge?
I've never gotten it wrong. You can wake me out of a dead sleep drunk with a punch to the head, ask me what ice cream has 3 different flavors, and I'll jump up, yell Neapolitan, then go to the store and get some. Right. Don't screw with me on Neapolitan, all right there, Big Nose?
Listen, fatty, you're the one that said Judge Neapolitan, and I was like, delicious, and then you went off on a whole rant about how racist you were. That's all I'm saying here.
Wait a minute, what?
Yes, thank you. And I know now why it's your favorite ice cream. Makes perfect sense. Everything segregated, you love it. Makes sense to me. Blatant bigot strikes again, even in ice cream flavors, folks. Can't get away from it.
How does it happen?
How does what happen? That was brilliant. What are you talking about?
How does this happen, though? Every couple of segments, this happens where I don't know how we go off on these tirades that have nothing to do with what we were about to talk about.
It makes perfect sense.
It does?
Yes.
On what damn planet?
You were talking about Judge Napolitano.
Yes.
But you screwed it up and said Judge Neapolitan, which we judged as delicious, which then seriously segued into an ice cream discussion and the fact that you're a racist based upon the composition of the ice cream. What don't you understand, Sean?
Oh, man. It kills me. We do this every once in a while.
We're up against a break.
Already?
Yes.
All right. Well, when we come back,
we're going to talk about sandwiches.
We're talking about sandwiches?
So if we were going to make a sandwich...
really quick! Oh, man. So Agador says, stop talking about ice cream. Nothing's open this late at night. And Golf Dog says, now Ag will be out on the street walking blind looking for ice cream. I don't even know how to respond if that was intentional or not.
Hey, Ag. Uber your way to a 7-Eleven or something and grab some ice cream.
Dude, he's up in the sticks. He's up in God's country.
That's
no
not my
7-Eleven.
fault. Prepare.
Man, I will not have insults of people with disabilities on this show.
Listen, we're up against the break.
You
There's
got
a
it, big
store
nose.
right down the block.
We'll be back in 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Can I get there and back with Neapolitan in time?
With Judge Napolitano. All that and more on the Sackheads Radio Show live in the SHR Media Network.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Times are dark. The people misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation in confusion needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Live Rebooting Liberty, and YouTube for a unique brand of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying Kafka, stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint,
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Hey, it's Jersey Joe from Reefer of Common Sense, and we have moved to a new night and time. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on shrmedia.com, you will catch the Reefer of Common Sense uncensored, unfiltered, and only on shrmedia.com.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Hey, folks, join the fight. If you look me up at Edge of Liberty on Twitter, I've put out my disdain for segregated ice cream. Please retweet to all of your friends, and we can end this. We need to end it because it's just horrible at this point. This is what we use our powers for? Oh, man. So, I was asking people for their favorite ice cream going into break. Agador has chocolate ice cream and then tops it with Quick. Nestle's Quick. That's pretty awesome. And then, let's see, we've somehow talked about food enough that Golf Talks is going to look for a sandwich. So, we not only expand your mind, but your diabetes on the show, on the Sackheads Radio Show.
Absolutely.
Hey, so
Hey, I retweeted yours.
I'm getting to it. I can't do two things. I can't run the board and go to retweets all the time, Sackhead Clint.
Yes, you can.
By the
Edge
way,
of Liberty.
if you want to follow Sackhead Clint, it's at Sackhead Clint on Twitter. If you could help him out, because he only has like 63.
I tweet so infrequently.
It's sad.
It is sad. I think if you look at my tweet history, it's like once in the last.
Well, it's one of those things that you don't tweet unless I tell you, hey, you should tweet that out. And then you're like,
Right.
oh, that's a good idea. How do I do it?
That's what just happened outside. You
Literally.
said, hey, I just tweeted about Down with Neil. I was like, oh. And you're like, okay, go to your screen. So I did, and you're like, okay, hit the heart button. Yeah, okay, what's that do? It means you liked it. I do, it's funny. Okay, that's why you hit the heart button.
Let's see if we can get him to 65 followers by the end of today. 65, that's 2. I think it can be done. At Sackhead Clint.
I don't even know. How do you turn this thing on? I don't even know what this is, Sean.
I'm sorry. So, moving right along, because we have a whole bunch of topics to cover. Our good friends over in North Korea. Hello.
Little Kim.
Little Kim.
Your favorite.
Once again, by the way, there was a picture today that was on the interwebs.
I just love their hats. I'm trying. I am trying so hard to find a North Korean military. Just the
One
big
for
ones
sale.
that they wear.
One for sale. That's
yes.
right.
Okay, Little Kim.
Little Kim today. By the way, you want to talk about a guy who's looking a lot like his dad. There was a picture of him today, allegedly in front of a miniaturized nuclear warhead as he was inspecting it.
That was a model. That was a Revell model.
Revell model?
Or an Acorn. I don't know which one. Do you remember those?
Yes. But but the picture of him today in front of this thing was
ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And he looks so much like his old man now, it's not even funny.
Maybe it was his old man.
He had the big furry hat with the glasses. And anyhow, I think it's funny that there's a miniaturized nuclear weapon in front of him. There's 30 guys standing around it talking about it, but none of them have any sort of protective mop gear on. Brilliant.
It's not real.
It's brilliant.
It's not real.
No, even if it is, they still wouldn't. Anyhow, that with the with them calling their
so they came out. They made their nuclear weapons ready for immediate launch.
Yep.
At a moment's notice, right?
Yep.
And basically said,
which just means
just means that are those things even fueled up? Like, what do those things run on? I don't even know.
Just put the mouse back on the wheel.
Right. Are the rubber bands attached to slingshot these things? No, there's not slingshot power. They're actually rockets.
Yeah, rockets.
Rockets. What? I love rockets. So they're saying that they're ahead of they do this ahead of the joint U.S.-South Korean war games. That always happens, but the North claims they're invasion preparations. And so what if they are?
Why wouldn't they be preparing?
Why wouldn't they be preparing to invade you? You guys are batshit crazy. Are you kidding me? You want to ready nuclear weapons against us. Of course we're going to plan to kick your butt. I mean, seriously. Is that really outside of the realm of possibilities here?
What isn't?
Exactly. So they think they have a handful of crude atomic bombs. Who knows if they're actually able to mount it on a missile. There's some speculation that they have that capability. A lot of people doubt that they have that capability, but it doesn't matter. North Korea fired 6 short-range projectiles into the sea, kind of off its coast, just as a reminder that we can launch missiles at you, I guess. I don't know. But now they're threatening us with nuclear weapons. Prepare the weapons. Prepare to fire the missiles.
Prepare the nuclear weapons. I love Little Kim. How can I not do my Little Kim impression?
He's such a douchebag. Look, okay, is it cute or is it scary?
It's scary.
It's scary cute.
It's scary and cute,
right?
All at the same time.
It's scary and cute. It's like the little 12-year-old, right, that's threatening to do something bad to you. You're just like, that's cute. I mean, you're crazy enough to grab a knife or something, but it's cute that you think you're tougher than you are. So I don't even know what he goes this. What they call it? A preemptive nuclear strike of justice.
Right.
That sounds like a ridiculous, like, Seth Rogen movie. Or something you'd see on Austin Powers.
Right.
Prepare the preemptive nuclear strike of justice.
Get it ready. Get it ready.
That sounds like something ridiculous that we.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, Superman and Batman.
Isn't that something ridiculous we'd put on a T-shirt? That's like
that would be.
That would be right.
That would be such a sackhead thing to put on.
It is. That's my point. Look, it's like we put down with Neapolitan. Okay, we'd put on a shirt, preemptive nuclear strike of justice. That's as ridiculous as blame China. Down with.
Prepare the nuclear strike of justice. What in the hell is wrong with them?
No, the preemptive nuclear strike. Look, I can't make this up. This is a quote. What would we do without North Korea and Joe Biden?
What would
honestly
we do
on the show?
Korea? I have no idea.
Just for pure
those two alone, the
comedic...
comedy is just little Kim out there standing around this. It looks like a
with
giant
his big hat. Prepare the preemptive nuclear strike of justice.
Can you picture him?
Yes.
Just like saying that to everybody.
Yes, I can.
Everyone's yelling at me to do the accent again.
Where's my cake?
Where's my cake? Prepare. The preemptive. Oh, you're going to love North Korea, man. The sad part is, and we've been warned for a long time, somebody who was a former inspector for the IAEA came out like 3 or 4 months ago and said, hey, they're a lot closer than anyone's giving them credit for, and nobody's worrying about this. And now, and I don't know if this picture they're standing in front of is the actual one they've miniaturized or not, but...
Like miniature, like what? Like they put it in the shrinking machine?
Making it small enough. Making it small enough so you can actually put it on an ICBM. And as we talked about it last week, they got so mad at the announcement of the joint military games, if you will, that they started throwing all their little rockets into the ocean, like
literally throwing them because they didn't know how to. They don't know how rocket power works. Yeah, so they couldn't fire the engines. So I think what they did is they put empty toilet paper rolls and they just painted them black. And they stuck them on the back ends of the bombs or the projectiles to look like rocket engines, or maybe they got those electric rocket engines,
right?
And that's why they only fizzled out and went so far into the ocean.
They went to like Hobby Lobby.
They got like the tester rockets.
They just bought the little,
the little rocket, like the tester rockets, and they had like the little metal, little metal stand that goes up. Prepare to fire the missiles, and they turn the little key and press the button. And it goes...
Thoop. There's no bang either, just a...
Right.
Thoop.
And then the cone pops off and it parachutes back down so they can recover it. In a completely unrelated story.
Okay.
The United States Navy SEALs don't have enough combat rifles to go around.
Of course not.
Because why would they?
Yeah, I saw that story. They're actually asking Congress...
Thank you, Gulf Dogs.
For a
Gulf Dogs is following.
Attaboy. For more money because they're actually coming off deployments and handing off their weapons to SEALs who are going out to be deployed. Folks, this is our first line of defense. This is our first line of offense.
This is our special forces.
Our Spec Ops guys.
Our Spec Op guys don't have enough combat rifles? Are you kidding me?
Listen, if there's not enough combat rifles, say, for the Salvation Army, I'd be like, well...
Probably don't need them.
Maybe we can find hand-me-downs or something like that. But when you don't have enough combat rifles for your special forces.
Yeah. Listen, I have a couple rifles. I will donate.
Yeah, I got one right now that I'll be happy to give up if that's what it takes.
Yours is a muzzle loader. We haven't used those in a while.
Hey, it's still legal. It's the gun that won the revolution. You know, there was the gun that won the West, the repeating
right
rifle. It's the gun that won the Revolution. Hey.
Yeah.
When do you think, at some point, we might take money from, say, unnecessary federal programs like the EPA,
or Department of Education,
or something like that,
or the executive branch,
and redistribute it to the military that needs it? And I know there are a lot of people out there. Oh, the military, that's most of our budget. There's a reason it's most of our budget.
So I have an idea.
Okay.
Now, you know how I've heard that if you write a note in the memo portion of your check, and somebody cashes that check, hear me out, that is a contract, correct? That by them cashing that check, they're agreeing to those terms. Just like when you write in their principal only or something of that nature, that's binding.
Right.
So if you write on the check you send to the government for, say, taxes,
Navy,
and
SEAL,
you write rifles for Navy SEALs, and the government cashes that check,
you know what we're going to do?
Did you not just... let's say you ask the government, hey, I have a copy of my canceled check. Can you show me where a portion of my money went for rifles, not for the Navy, but specifically for Navy SEALs, since you cashed my check and agreed to use this money for that?
You know, we always make jokes about things on whitehouse.gov.
Uh-huh.
But I'm going to start, as soon as we get off the air, I'm going to do a whitehouse.gov petition to allow some of this year's tax returns to go directly to buying combat rifles. And then we got to figure out if we could do like a GoFundMe.
I have an idea. Instead of combat rifles, because, you know, they'll get low bid.
Yeah.
Let's say a specific type of rifle.
Right.
Let's say like a POF.
Like a POF.
For example. Right? And let's spec it out for them. Let's just completely spec it out, right? We'll say a POF rifle, 10.5-inch barrel, 4-grip, surefire, light system.
M4 status.
Aim point, optic. I mean, let's just do the whole thing.
Magpul sling.
Yeah, Magpul. Let's do this. Let's do OD green with Magpul furniture.
There you go.
Flip up sights, and let's just spec the whole thing out for them.
Yeah. It's sad that we even have to discuss this in our modern day and age, when our special forces, who just were involved in an insertion in Somalia to kill 10 militants, because it was a necessary thing, our special forces folks are always the first people to go. And a lot of times they go and we never even hear about it.
Sometimes they're the only ones that go.
Sometimes they're the only ones that go.
Could you imagine that conversation? So, hey, you guys have a mission, and you're the only ones we're going to send. We don't have rifles for you. So have you guys seen that World War II movie, Enemy at the Gates, where basically one Russian soldier has the rifle and one Russian soldier has the ammo?
Right.
That's going to be you guys.
Right.
And you know the part where the commander says, if the man with the rifle drops, pick up the rifle and keep going?
Right.
Yeah, we're basically going to tell you to do that.
Right. That's exactly where it is. Egg has a good suggestion in the chat room. Let's just actually offer the SEALs to choose which one they want before we push forward with it. That's fine.
Yeah, but you're going to have differences, right? Might as well just put it there on the website.
So what?
And that way we know they're getting quality. Otherwise, there's going to be a big fight, and then you're going to have to bid it out and spec it and all that other stuff. Whereas if we just put it on the petition,
you know, what if we try to get $4,000 a rifle? And then that SEAL, the operators themselves, can choose their item.
Right.
And spec it out themselves.
That's a good idea.
So let's just mandate $4,500. We'll call it. That's
per rifle.
Per rifle.
And the operator gets to spec the rifle, optic, furniture, everything for it. And the government agrees to pay for it.
So that's going to be on Whitehouse.gov.
I'm
really going to start this.
Let's say $4,500 to $10,000 per rifle. Let's just, why not?
$4,500 to $6,500.
No,
I think
listen,
that's a good.
Don't lowball it. What if they want it in 308?
Oh, damn it! Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank God, it's a great point.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go $6,500 to $10K.
So, listen, we haven't talked about illegal immigration in a while.
We haven't.
So let's do it tonight.
By the way, I'm on Periscope, just so you know. I'm on Periscope right now, just so you know.
Like literally? Like,
yeah,
I'm
on Periscope.
I don't know what that is.
I'm broadcasting live on Periscope.
Why?
Why not?
I don't know. I asked the question first. You can't ask a question with a question. What is this? A man suspected of killing 5 people in 2 states, Missouri and Kansas, was arrested. So the killing spree spanned 2 states. This man was here illegally.
What?
I know. Yet again, another
almost like the illegal Central
criminal
American,
alien.
The criminal alien.
By the way, have you noticed that term's been used?
Yeah, a lot more.
And we coined that.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
4 years ago.
3 years
like
ago, we coined that term on our show, and it's now being used by politicians. In
yeah, I
mainstream
see
media.
it a lot more.
I'm claiming that, and
was-
we have the audio to back it up.
We do have
and
the
date.
audio to back it up. There's also the individual that killed the Texas police officer, who is an illegal alien. I want to say he was from somewhere in Central America.
Criminal.
Doesn't matter. Criminal.
Alien.
So, once again, it seems like the criminal aliens are murdering people, and still the Obama administration's done nothing.
Yeah. Pablo Antonio Serrano Vitorino. He was deported back to Mexico in 2004. Obviously, he's since returned. So deported, came back, been here for who knows how long.
Are you sure he wasn't sent on a vacation back to Mexico?
Now, that could be.
Like a government-paid vacation.
I think that's what it was, because they gave him a free trip back, and he got to visit some family, and then he figured, I'll just go back whenever I want. I know we have 10 minutes left in the show. I want to talk about Iran also. Iran test-fired 2 missiles. They were long-range ballistic missiles, and they did it while Vice President Biden was in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was by accident. There was a phrase written on each missile. The phrase written in Hebrew said, quote, Israel must be wiped out.
Oh. Well, I mean...
The good news is...
Well, I mean, that's just... I mean, that could be misconstrued as a lot of things, right?
The good news is that them firing these missiles didn't violate any part of the deal that we signed with them. So we had a great deal, apparently.
Awesome.
Right, we signed a great deal. Hey, you guys can't have nuclear weapons. You have fire missiles and test them. Like, that's all fine and good. But you just don't put nuclear material on them. What did we get from this? What did we get as a result of this deal? Nothing.
We got a deal.
Oh, yes. I forgot. We got a deal.
We got a deal. Doesn't matter what's in it.
Right. You'll find out what's in it when you read it. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. All right, Pistol Grip.
It's a damn deal, damn it.
It's a deal. Listen, we came together and we worked something.
You guys are always complaining that we don't make deals. We finally made a deal.
Yeah, sir, we got screwed in the deal because they're still launching missiles and wanting to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and they're doing it while our vice president is there. Yes, but you're so short-sighted you're missing. We got the deal. What deal?
We got a deal.
The deal.
That's it. That's all there is to it, is a deal. So this prolific and amazing deal still allows people to...
Fire missiles.
In Iran.
Biden made a statement. He said, I want to reiterate, because I know people still doubt, if in fact they break the deal, we will act. Mr. Vice President, put your pants back on, put the drink down. If there's nothing in the deal for them to break, they're never going to break the deal. Right? It's not a break in the deal for them to launch missiles. It's not a break in the deal for them to say they're going to wipe Israel off the map. It's not a break in the deal for them to continue with programs. Not a break in the deal for them to fire missiles 150 yards away from one of our naval ships. It's not. What's in the deal? What are we getting?
It's a deal. It's still a deal. It's a deal. And then we got a deal. Sad. Absolutely sad. I mean, this is just... It really goes to show you how insanely horrible we, as a nation, are being led right now. It's pathetic. And it wasn't even like they just ran this test without any sort of fanfare. They actually turned around and said, death to Israel on the missiles, that we're supposed to not be mad that they're testing yet again. And you wonder why, folks. I have no faith in this administration whatsoever. It's just pathetic. There's also breaking news right now of some sort of shooting that's going on in Pennsylvania. Wilkinsburg, Pennsylvania, 5 people have been shot. It doesn't give me much more than that. I'm actually trying to find more details as we're speaking.
Oh, while you're finding details, I want to talk about the head of the Islamic State's chemical weapons operations was captured. Sleeman Dowd Dudu Al-Afari, not going to work here anymore. U.S. has had him for a few weeks. He's been interrogated during that time by the U.S. This individual had converted banned mustard gas into powder form in order to launch in artillery shells. They think that ISIS got access to the mustard gas that Saddam Hussein had stockpiled, which is weird because I didn't think he had any. Never mind. And there's some speculation that this is the mustard gas that was used to fire on the Kurds, right? When they had that mass killing and their skin was blistered, nobody really knew what was happening.
Right.
So that's huge.
Well, we knew what was happening, but nobody wanted to admit it to it.
Right. Some of the intel coming out is that the weaponized mustard gas that ISIS had developed would not be concentrated enough to kill people, but could still obviously cause serious injuries to the victims. So I think that's a huge.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And if we're launching strikes to take those development centers out, that means we know it's a big deal.
And the fact that ISIS actually has a special unit dedicated to chemical weapons research. Folks, they're for real.
Yeah.
I mean, I know those that listen to our show know that they're for real, but they're for real. They want to kill us and
everybody we love and know and all that
with us.
Other jazz. And yet there are people in this country who still just act like they are the JV team, that it's not a big deal. It's really sad to me that we've been talking about this for a while. As soon as that first kind of incident came out with the Kurds who were gassed, and we all kind of knew the Kurds were gassed, and nobody really wanted to talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. And we still stood up and said, hey, and a lot of other people did. It wasn't just us. Hey, they have chemical weapons that they got from the Iraqis.
Yeah, from the Saddam regime.
From the Saddam regime, right? They went in, they got it, they developed it, because after we invaded, there was no development of these said chemical weapons, right? But we found that they had raided the former compounds where the chemical weapons were made, and they were potentially making more. And now it comes out that it is the absolute truth. So once again,
Bush lied.
Bush must have lied.
Bush must have lied. I know we have 2 minutes and 39 seconds left, but the U.S. There's a report I saw that the U.S. is actually sending B-52 bombers to fight ISIS. I love this.
I think it's outstanding.
I love this. I'm pretty sure the B-52 could carpet bomb, like one B-52 could, I think, carpet bomb all of North Korea. Granted, I know they're being sent to fight ISIS, but why not send one to stage it in South Korea? I'm just saying.
Why not?
Why not? So the officials are saying that the B-52 is going to be replacing the B-1 bombers that are currently bombing ISIS. The payload capacity in the B-52 is ridiculous. More so than the B-1. So I kind of like how we're saying, hey, you know what, ISIS, we're going to take the B-1s away, and we're going to hit you old school.
Right. We're going to hit you really old school.
We're going to hit you really old school.
We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back hardcore. And I'm glad they finally did. And I agree with you. It needed to be done. There needs to be we got to have an uptick in it. And I know people act like it's not a big deal, and I think people are still turning around and trying to downplay the threat of ISIS in this country. But when they're uploading to the bigger payload B-52, less precise, more carpet bombing.
Yeah, up to 70,000 pounds of payload.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big deal.
And the aircraft's been around since 1954.
Yeah, and it's still, they keep upgrading it.
9 years after the end of World War II.
Hell yeah.
Right? This thing's been around.
I want to congratulate you before we go to break.
Me.
65 followers on Twitter. We did it.
This is what. Thank you.
We got
for
you
those
the 2.
listening. Thank you so much. And I promise to tweet more than once per month.
Right.
Well, hang on. I got to rephrase that. I promise to try to tweet more than once a month.
I am so proud of you. You're making a big change right now.
I promise to look at the little red circular number that comes up on my Twitter feed.
Golf Dog is warning you that he has some psycho followers, so that's okay. That's all right. I
Golf,
do too.
Golf, so do I.
Yeah.
And I finally had to say, listen, Mom, you can't do this anymore. With another one, I had to finally say, listen, the divorce is final. I mean, you can't just keep. This is uncomfortable at this point. I mean, we can't just keep. I'm sorry, it didn't work out. I mean, you know, killed
Folks,
3 cats and skinned my dog. I can't get over that.
Thank you so much for listening to the Sackheads Radio Show
You're
live
welcome.
on the SHR Media Network. Make sure you check out all the great shows here on SHR Media. We will be back in 2 weeks. Next week, I am off. I am. I can't make next week, but we'll be back the week after that.
Come to Freedom Fest with us.
Start making your plans for Freedom Fest because we plan on being there. We want you there as well. Yeah.
So is Sacco going to be here next week?
I don't know. We'll have to figure that out off the air.
For Sackhead Sean.
I'm Sackhead Clint.
Good night, America.
It never stops being insane.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack news. Sack news.
Radio.
Sack news. Sack news.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.